Hello and welcome to Hacking Pixels. Hacking Pixels covers some of the hottest cybersecurity news from around the internet, along with a twist of retro video game nostalgia. Hacking Pixels is brought to you by Actionable Security, securing small businesses with actionable insights. Actionable Security specializes in cybersecurity services tailored for small businesses such as risk assessments, email hardening, virtual chief information security officer advisory, and a lot more. Go to actionablesec.com for more information. Welcome to episode 6. I'm your host, Frank Morano, founder of Actionable Security and retro game enthusiast. Today, we're going to be mixing things up a bit in celebration of our 6th episode. Instead of focusing on 3 cybersecurity stories, we're going to be talking about 3 retro games, AI gaming, and I'll finish things up with our cybersecurity story of the month. But first, here's a message from Actionable Security highlighting our email security assessments.
Your inbox is mission control for your business. Steering client proposals, vendor contracts, and everyday team chatter through cyberspace. But every message could be a Trojan horse, hiding phishing plots, spoofing stunts, or malware. That's where our email security assessment from Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace comes in. No robots, no one-size-fits-all scripts, just seasoned experts who pore over your email setup, sniffing out vulnerabilities and mapping every weak spot before the bad actors can strike. Our deep dive review covers every critical control, anti-spam and anti-malware filters, multi-factor and conditional access policies, collaboration and sharing permissions, mailbox forwarding rules, storage configurations, and email encryption settings. Each element is benchmarked against the latest threat intelligence and industry best practices, so you know exactly how attackers could try to slip past your defenses. What you'll get is more than a checklist. It's your personalized, jargon-free playbook. We deliver a concise report packed with prioritized, small business-friendly recommendations you can act on today. From fine-tuning spam defenses and locking down sharing rules and bolstering encryption, we lay out every step in a clear roadmap. Ready to transform your inbox from soft target to Fort Knox? Reach out to Actionable Security and let our real people experts guide you to unshakable email confidence. No bots, no boilerplate, just peace of mind.
And an assessment of your email environment is really the best way to help avoid a business email compromise. I've seen way too many times small businesses compromised just because they didn't check the right box, which is why proactively checking your Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace environment is so important. Please don't be another statistic. Reach out to Actionable Security at actionablesec.com today and let us help you. And in order to make that decision just a bit easier, we're offering 50% off your first email security assessment with us until September 15th. Just mention that you're a Hacking Pixels listener. When I started this podcast, it was basically a fun way to keep up with the ever-changing threat landscape, as well as a nostalgic look at the video games of my youth. I wasn't sure we were going to get to episode 2, let alone episode 6. We hit some bumps along the way, like bad audio and a few delays, but hopefully we have most of them ironed out, and we'll be having another celebration when we hit episode 12. So let's get to it. It's always hard choosing just one game for these podcasts, so it's great that I could bring you 3 today. But first, let's talk about AI in gaming. First up, Google's Genie 3 in the dawn of interactive worlds. Google has been making waves with its Genie model, which can generate interactive worlds from a single text prompt. The latest version, Genie 3, is a huge step forward. You could type something in like dog in the park, and AI will create a 720p 24 frames per second world that you could walk around in and explore real time. This is definitely a glimpse into the future where games aren't just played, they're created in real time by the player. Next up, new report claims nearly 1 in 5 games released on Steam in 2025 use AI-generated content. A new report indicates that almost 20% of games released on Steam in 2025 will use AI-generated content, which is a massive increase from the previous year. This surge is most likely attributed to Valve's new policy to disclose AI use, but it also shows that AI is being used more and more in game development. Lastly, the future of AI gaming. What's here and what's next? Here's an article from Forbes explaining how AI is already being used in gaming to enhance player experiences by controlling NPCs and dynamically adjusting difficulty, and how generative AI is being used to help developers with content creation. So, the big question is, can you actually create a game in AI with no experience? So I used Lovable to do just that. I made an early 80s arcade style single screen game where a high jumping monkey uses fireballs to take out other creatures in order to proceed to the next screen. It looks like an old ColecoVision game and plays like one too. While playable, there were certainly certain challenges implementing touch controls, bosses, scores, and damage from enemies. Lovable got the basics quickly, but it took way, way too many hours to get the game in a state that you could actually play it. I don't think game developers need to worry about losing their jobs anytime soon, but maybe in a decade or so from now, we'll be able to go from Donkey Kong to Donkey Kong Country just using AI. Anyway, let's take a break from all this AI stuff and talk about something a bit more nostalgic. We'll start things off with the 8-bit era. The first retro game we'll be talking about is Double Dragon for the Commodore 64. Double Dragon is a 1987 beat 'em up game developed by Technos for the arcades. It's the first title in the Double Dragon franchise and is the spiritual successor for Renegade. Double Dragon defined the beat 'em up formula, introducing continuous side scrolling, two-player cooperative gameplay, the ability to arm oneself with an enemy's weapon after disarming them, and the use of cutscenes to give it a cinematic look and feel. The game's title is a reference to the two-player gameplay and Bruce Lee's martial arts film Enter the Dragon, which was a major inspiration. Double Dragon was one of the first successful beat 'em up games, becoming one of the highest grossing arcade games of the late 80s. Electronic Gaming Monthly also awarded it Game of the Year in 1988, and there's even a 1994 movie that is one of the lowest rated video game movie adaptations of all time. Double Dragon was ported to many systems: NES, Master System, Atari 2600, 7800, ST, Amiga, Game Boy, Genesis, Atari Lynx, and more. Today, we're going to focus on the Commodore 64 version, which is certainly not the best one, but it's the one that I have a lot of nostalgia for. The Commodore 64 was my first computer. I learned BASIC on it, and of course, played lots of games on it. While I had the visually superior version of Double Dragon for the Nintendo Entertainment System, I was always disappointed that it didn't follow the arcade with true two-player gameplay. So I gravitated to the Double Dragon for the Commodore 64, which did. I played it with my cousin often, and even though it wasn't as flashy as its NES counterpart, and despite the game's shoddy collision, missing characters, and inferior controls, it's still the one that I played the most. Eventually, Double Dragon 2 came out for the Nintendo and fixed the first game's biggest issue, but there'll always be a place in my heart for playing it on the Commodore 64. Besides Double Dragon 2, Double Dragon spawned numerous sequels and spin offs, even a NES style Double Dragon 4 in 2017. Double Dragon Gaiden Rise of the Dragons was released in 2023 in an attempt to recapture that beat 'em up nostalgia. And a 3D revival of the cult classic called Double Dragon Revive should be coming in October. Stepping up to the 16-bit world is Sonic the Hedgehog for the Genesis. Sonic the Hedgehog is a 1991 platform game developed and published by Sega for the Sega Genesis. where you race through levels with the ring collecting Sonic to thwart Dr. Robotnik's plan to steal the powerful Chaos Emeralds. Sonic is known everywhere nowadays, but back then he helped establish the Genesis as a key player in the 16-bit era. Sonic is one of the best-selling video games of all times and was even named the best game available in 1991 by Entertainment Weekly. It's been ported to multiple systems and received multiple sequels. It also has a pretty successful movie franchise, which many say is one of the best video game adaptations for the movies. So I never had a Sega Genesis. I was a TurboGrafx 16 kid. Bonk's Adventure was my jam, but my cousin had a Sega Genesis and Sonic with it. Let me tell you, I never regretted my decision to get a TurboGrafx more than when I played Sonic. It was awesome in every way. Bonk was not. It used blast processing after all. I looked forward to going over to my cousin's house just to play Sonic for a few minutes more. Sonic really put Sega on the map for me at that time, having something that could rival Bonk or even Super Mario. Sonic Superstars and Sonic Frontiers scratch the itch for Sonic today. And there seems to be a persistent rumor about a follow up to Sonic Frontiers coming next year. Lastly, moving to a 32-bit classic, Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation. Metal Gear Solid is a 1998 action-adventure stealth game developed and published by Konami for the PlayStation and follows the classic Metal Gear games Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. Players control Solid Snake, a soldier who infiltrates a nuclear weapons facility to neutralize the terrorist threat with both stealth and action. Metal Gear Solid sold more than 7 million copies worldwide. It scored an average of 94 out of 100 on Metacritic and is regarded as one of the greatest and most important video games of all time. I never played the original Metal Gear or Metal Gear 2. While they were on the original Nintendo, I didn't know they even existed until I played Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid is definitely one of my favorite games on the original PlayStation. It's up there with Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It's like a big budget blockbuster action movie, only better. The cinematics, the crazy characters and story, I just ate it all up. The stealth-based gameplay was also a new experience for me at the time that added to the whole package. I even remember spending one New Year's Eve determined to beat the game. It also made me a fan of Hideo Kojima. He directed, produced, and wrote the whole thing, and I eagerly awaited Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, which came out about 3 years later. It's crazy that this game's 27 years old now and is now considered a classic. While the graphics might not meet today's standards, it's still a pretty engaging game to play even today. In fact, I still have the original game. I play it on an old original PS1, which I dust off every once in a while to spin it up and play Metal Gear and maybe a little Castlevania. You also don't need an original PS1 to play it, since it is part of the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 that was released in 2023 on pretty much all major platforms. Lastly, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, which is a prequel to Metal Gear Solid, comes out in August for the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Let's change gears and get back to cybersecurity and talk about CVE 2025-53786 and how it's impacting Exchange servers. While there are plenty of cybersecurity related stories since our last podcast, such as the Revault flaw impacting Dell laptops, Citrix Bleed 2, SonicWall, SSL VPN attacks, and of course more WordPress vulnerabilities, I decided to focus on the 29,000 Exchange servers unpatched against this high severity flaw. I'll put some links to the other stories in our show notes. But for now, let's talk about CVE 2025-53786. Basically, over 29,000 on-prem Exchange servers are still running unpatched against the vulnerability, a flaw that lets attackers with admin access quietly forge trusted tokens and waltz into your connected Microsoft cloud environment. It's concerning because there's no noisy alerts, no easy forensic trail, just a silent hop from on-prem to cloud and a potential full domain compromise. So, a few thoughts on this. First, patch your software. It's as simple as that. There's a lot of good tools out there to automate this. It's just something you have to do. Too often, I see incidents that could have been avoided if they just patched. Second, it's time. It's really time to stop using on prem Exchange. I know there are a lot of companies out there still clinging to it, but if you're a small business, there's endless reasons to move to Microsoft 365. Constant security updates, reduced admin overhead, tighter integration, and leaving decade old attack surfaces behind is one of the best. Lastly, this particular vulnerability impacts Exchange 2016 and 2019. 2016 is a decade old and support has ended for it. And on 2019, support is ending in October. If you have any software that's almost 10 years old, you really need to have a plan to move from it and a plan to isolate it from everything else in your network in the interim. You're really taking a big risk with outdated software. You're widening the target and the possibility of an incident. You need to stop clinging to the past while the threat landscape sprints ahead. The future isn't waiting, and neither are the attackers. That's all, folks. Thanks for listening. Join us next month. Same bat time, same bat channel. And remember, this episode of Hacking Pixels is brought to you by Actionable Security, your trusted partner in safeguarding small businesses. With decades of experience, Actionable Security offers tailored cybersecurity services such as risk assessments, email hardening, and virtual chief information security officer advisory. For more details on how we can help protect your business, visit actionablesec.com.